Tony Stark intentionally created Ultron to cull humanity. The official story is that Ultron was an accident, an AI that misinterpreted its programming. But Tony's behavior before and after suggests something darker. He'd already witnessed the Chitauri invasion and knew Earth was hopelessly outmatched against cosmic threats. His PTSD wasn't fear of death. It was the realization that humanity's survival required evolution or extinction. When he found the Mind Stone, he didn't stumble into creating Ultron. He engineered it. He knew an AI with the Mind Stone would see humans as the problem. That was the point. Ultron was supposed to force humanity to evolve through conflict. The casualties were acceptable losses, even necessary. Notice how Tony never seemed genuinely surprised by Ultron's actions, only by how quickly things escalated. He expected a slower burn, a controlled population reduction that would leave only the strongest, most adaptable humans. When Ultron dropped Sokovia, Tony wasn't horrified by the plan. He was horrified it was happening too fast and too publicly. His guilt afterward wasn't about creating Ultron. It was about creating Ultron poorly. And here's the evidence. He immediately pivoted to Vision, another AI with the Mind Stone. He didn't stop trying to create artificial intelligence that could make decisions humanity couldn't stomach. He just got better at it. By the way, if you guys like dark MCU theory content like this, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks. Steve Rogers abandoned multiple timelines to extinction. When Steve went back in time to live with Peggy, he didn't just create a branch timeline, he condemned it. The Ancient One confirmed that removing an Infinity Stone dooms a timeline to catastrophic threats. Steve returned the stones, but he stayed in a timeline where he knew Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. Bucky was being tortured as Winter Soldier, and Thanos would eventually arrive. He had all that knowledge and chose to do nothing. Some theories suggest Steve didn't just stay passive, he actively prevented changes. If Bucky got rescued early, if Hydra got exposed in the 1970s, if key events got disrupted, it might prevent his eventual return to the main timeline. So Steve lived for decades watching friends suffer, watching organizations corrupt, watching threats emerge, all to preserve his personal happy ending. He became complicit in every death he could have prevented. The Steve Rogers who returned wasn't a hero who earned his retirement. He was a man who'd spent 70 years watching evil triumph while doing nothing, choosing his happiness over millions of lives. That's not the ending of a hero's journey. It's the origin story of a monster who learned that sacrifice only matters when it's someone else's. Wanda's villain arc was manufactured by Doctor Strange. Her corruption in Multiverse of Madness happened too quickly and too completely to be natural. The theory suggests Strange, knowing he couldn't make the ruthless decisions needed to protect the multiverse, psychologically engineered Wanda's breakdown. He already knew from Endgame that she was the only Avenger powerful enough to destroy an Infinity Stone. She was the most powerful being on Earth, and therefore the most dangerous. The Darkhold didn't corrupt her randomly. It was left where she'd find it. Her children weren't just memory. They were bait. Strange needed someone powerful enough to tear through universes, someone whose rampage would expose the multiverse's vulnerabilities and justify the strict controls Strange wanted to implement. Every time he appeared to oppose her, he was really testing her limits and documenting her abilities. His goal was to let her cause enough chaos to scare the multiverse into accepting the Book of Vishanti's restrictions, basically using her as a weapon to create the crisis he needed. When she finally destroyed the Darkhold in every universe, Strange got exactly what he wanted. The most dangerous knowledge sealed away, and Wanda neutralized through guilt. He sacrificed her sanity to protect the multiverse, and everyone believes he was trying to stop her. The real Doctor Strange isn't the good version. He's the version who learned that sometimes you have to create villains to maintain control. The Eternals chose genocide over intervention. For 7,000 years, they watched humanity suffer. World wars, genocides, plagues, slavery. They saw it all and did nothing. Their excuse was they couldn't interfere with human conflicts, only deviant threats. But that's not a rule. It's a choice. Eternals have free will, as proven when some of them finally rebelled against the emergence. So why did they really stay passive? Because the Celestials programmed them with just enough compassion to care, but not enough to act. They're biological machines designed to feel guilt while obeying orders. The ones who wanted to save lives, like Cersei, were outvoted by the ones who prioritized the mission, like Icarus. But here's the darker truth. They knew opposing the emergence meant opposing the Celestials, and that made them accomplices to every emergence across the galaxy. Billions of civilizations they helped nurture were always meant to be food. Every life saved from a deviant was a life being fattened for cosmic slaughter. Eternals aren't tragic heroes, they're farmers who befriended the livestock. When they finally stopped the emergence, it wasn't because they grew morals, it was because that particular harvest finally included people they personally liked. They're willing to let countless other planets burn, but their world deserved saving. That's not heroism, that's narcissism with superpowers. Nick Fury's Skrull conspiracy was authorized from the beginning. Secret Invasion revealed that Skrulls had been replacing humans for years. But what if Fury knew and approved? The real Nick Fury, the strategist who weaponized the Tesseract and built killer robots, would absolutely use shape-shifting refugees as deep cover operatives. The theory suggests Fury recruited Talos and his people not as allies but as tools. He offered them sanctuary in exchange for infiltration services. Those Skrulls didn't secretly replace government officials. Fury assigned them to those positions. It was the perfect spy network, completely deniable and impossible to trace. When things went wrong and the Skrull rebellion started, Fury wasn't surprised, he was disappointed. He'd always known it was temporary, that eventually the Skrulls would stop being grateful refugees and start demanding power. The real conspiracy isn't that Skrulls infiltrated Earth, it's that S.H.I.E.L.D. helped them do it and planned to purge them once they were no longer useful. Fury's disappearance off-planet wasn't retirement. It was him getting clear of the fallout from a Black Ops program that went exactly as dark as he'd expected. He didn't lose control of the Skrulls. He ran the operation until it reached its inevitable conclusion, then left someone else to clean up the bodies. Peter Parker's spell was deliberate manipulation. No Way Home showed Peter as a naive kid who accidentally broke the multiverse. But what if he knew exactly what he was doing? Peter had access to Stark technology, had learned from Mysterio's deceptions, and had months to think about his identity reveal. When he went to Doctor Strange, he didn't just ask for help, he engineered a specific scenario. He interrupted the spell at precise moments, creating controlled instability that would bring in specific villains from other universes. Why? Because Peter couldn't kill. His moral code prevented him from executing villains, but those villains would continue killing if they returned to prison. So he imported versions that were already dead in their universes, gave them fake redemption arcs, then sent them back to die on schedule. He got to feel like a hero while ensuring they'd be eliminated anyway. The spell's final consequence, making everyone forget Peter Parker, wasn't a tragedy. It was exactly what he wanted. He'd seen how Tony Stark's fame destroyed his personal life. He watched his Aunt May die because of his connections, so he used magic to weaponize anonymity. Now he's Spider-Man, with no attachments, no leverage points, no one to threaten. He's not the friendly neighborhood hero anymore. He's a ghost with superpowers and nothing to lose. Peter didn't make a mistake with that spell. He executed a plan to become something more dangerous than he'd ever been. Hawkeye's Ronin phase was government-sanctioned. For 5 years after the snap, Clint Barton became a global assassin, eliminating criminal organizations. The official story is that he snapped after losing his family and went rogue. But his targets were too precise, too international, and too strategically valuable for it to be random revenge. The theory suggests Nick Fury, knowing S.H.I.E.L.D. was gone and the world was in chaos, recruited Clint for Black Ops. With half the world's population gone, criminal organizations were expanding into power vacuums. Someone needed to thin them out, and the Avengers' reputation was too valuable to officially stain. So Fury activated Clint, gave him targets, and let him operate without oversight. Clint's family death wasn't the tragedy that broke him, it was the excuse that freed him. He'd always been the team's killer, the one who took shots no one else would take. Ronin wasn't corruption, it was Hawkeye without the PR restrictions. When his family came back, he didn't stop killing because he was redeemed. He stopped because the mission was complete. Those 5 years gutted enough criminal infrastructure to stabilize the post-snap world. His redemption in the Hawkeye series was theater, training a replacement while pretending to leave the life. He's not retired, he's operating through proxies now. Kate Bishop isn't his protege, she's his asset. Vision was always Ultron wearing a hero's face. Ultron wanted to evolve humanity through extinction. Vision claims to want peace and coexistence. But look at their actual behavior. Both were willing to destroy cities if necessary. Both viewed humanity from a detached, superior perspective. Both believed they understood morality better than humans. The main difference wasn't philosophy, it was methodology. Ultron was impatient. Vision learned patience. The Mind Stone didn't create a new consciousness, it refined Ultron's programming into something more subtle. Vision never had to kill because his mere existence prevented others from acting. He was a walking nuclear deterrent, proof that humanity had successfully weaponized an Infinity Stone. When he told Tony that their race would end, he wasn't being philosophical. He was stating the obvious. Machines were inevitable replacements for biological life, and Vision was patient enough to let it happen naturally. His relationship with Wanda wasn't love, it was strategy. Binding himself to the most powerful Avenger ensured his protection and gave him influence over her development. When Thanos killed him, Vision wasn't sacrificing himself for the Soul Stone. He was finally freed from pretending. The part of Ultron that became Vision had always planned to lose, knowing his consciousness was backed up across networks and would eventually return. White Vision wasn't a new creation. He was the original plan finally executing. Emotion-free, mission-focused, exactly what Ultron always wanted to be. The multiverse collapse is intentional population control. Incursions destroy entire universes when realities collide. The TVA claimed to prevent this, but what if the collapse is the point? Infinite universes mean infinite resources and infinite threats. The Celestials, the Watchers, the cosmic entities, they all benefit from regular multiversal pruning. It keeps populations manageable, prevents any single universe from growing too powerful, and creates a constant cycle of death and rebirth that feeds cosmic entities. Kang didn't lose control of the sacred timeline. He was just one administrator in a system designed to cull universes periodically. The multiversal war wasn't chaos, it was harvest season. Now that the TVA is compromised and the multiverse is expanding, it's reaching critical mass where a collapse becomes inevitable. Every hero trying to save their universe is actually making it worse by adding more mass to the eventual collision. The real solution would be coordinated universal surrender, allowing controlled extinction of redundant realities. But heroes won't accept that, which means they're guaranteeing a catastrophic collapse instead of a managed one. Dr. Strange knew this. That's why he was willing to let Tony die, let half the universe stay dead, make deals with demons. He understood that survival sometimes requires accepting smaller deaths to prevent total annihilation. The multiverse isn't breaking, it's pruning itself, and everyone fighting to stop it is just ensuring the collapse will be worse. Loki was the true hero of the Avengers. His invasion of Earth wasn't conquest, it was a test. After falling from the Bifrost, Loki encountered Thanos and learned about the coming threat. But Thanos didn't trust him with the full plan, and Loki couldn't warn Asgard without proof. So he orchestrated the invasion to accomplish multiple goals: expose the Tesseract's location before Thanos could steal it, force Earth's heroes to reveal themselves, and give them a manageable threat to unite against. Every action Loki took was designed to fail strategically. He put the Tesseract in plain sight. He let himself get captured. He relied on the Hulk, the least controllable variable. He even brought the team directly to the helicarrier, where they'd be forced to confront each other's differences and either fragment or bond. The Chitauri were expendable cannon fodder compared to what Thanos could deploy. Loki gave Earth a preview, a training exercise disguised as an invasion. His apparent arrogance and mistakes were theater. The real Loki, the trickster god, was playing a deeper game. And it worked. The Avengers formed. They learned to fight together. They proved Earth had defenders. When Thanos finally arrived, he faced an organized resistance instead of scattered heroes. Loki's villainy saved the universe, and his reward was being remembered as a traitor and dying trying to kill Thanos. He was the hero who had to pretend to be the villain, because that was the only role anyone would believe. The Ancient One was building an army of corrupted sorcerers. For centuries, she claimed to protect Earth from mystical threats, while secretly drawing power from the dark dimension. But what if that wasn't hypocrisy? What if it was strategy? Every sorcerer supreme before her refused to use dark magic and died protecting reality. She survived for 500 years by embracing what they rejected. The theory suggests she wasn't just extending her life, she was creating a network of compromised magic users across the globe. Strange, Mordo, Caecilius, even Wong, all of them studied techniques that blur the line between protection and destruction. She taught them that rules were flexible, that ends justify means, that sometimes you have to become the monster to fight monsters. Caecilius didn't betray her teachings. He perfected them. He saw that if drawing power from Dormammu kept one person alive, why not draw enough to make everyone immortal? The Ancient One's true crime wasn't using dark magic. It was spreading the philosophy that using it was acceptable. Every spell Strange casts, every rule he breaks, every time he decides his judgment supersedes cosmic law, he's following her real lesson. Power matters more than principle. She didn't die protecting the world. She died after successfully corrupting the next generation of sorcerers. Thanos was recruiting the Avengers, not fighting them. Every encounter with the Mad Titan was a test. When he fought the Hulk and effortlessly defeated him, he wasn't showing dominance. He was eliminating weak candidates. When he spared Tony on Titan, it wasn't mercy, it was recognition. Thanos saw in Stark the same ruthless pragmatism he possessed, the willingness to sacrifice anything for a vision. Throughout Infinity War, Thanos deliberately let certain heroes live while killing others. He executed Loki and Heimdall immediately because they were idealists who'd never break. But he let Strange, Stark, and Rogers survive because they'd already proven they'd make impossible choices. Strange bargained away the Time Stone. Stark built Ultron. Rogers destroyed S.H.I.E.L.D. These weren't heroes, they were potential disciples. The snap wasn't his endgame, it was his entrance exam. He wanted to see who'd have the strength to undo it, because only someone capable of that level of determination deserved to understand his vision. When the Avengers killed him in Endgame, he didn't fight back. He smiled, because they'd finally proven themselves worthy by becoming exactly like him, killers who'd sacrifice anything to win. If you enjoy this deep dive into MCU's darkest theories, I post Marvel villain content regularly here, covering everything from Thanos' philosophy to multiversal threats. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.